Hello, you're very welcome to this video that we call Mathematical Toolbox. Seamus Bellew is my name. This is for first year Science and Electronics students at DKIT Dundalk. When the repairman, or should we say the repair person, arrives at your home to do a job, the first thing they do is they look at what needs to be done. They then go to the van to see what tools might be good to do the job. So here in this video, we're going to look at some basic algebraic skills. So if we take you back to primary school, maybe when you were in first or second class, you came home in a big panic with this exercise to do. 3 plus box equals 10. So what number goes into that box? Then you graduate to second or third class and you came home with the homework. 8 times box equals 56. So what numbers go into these boxes? What is going on? Now you might say, why are we going back to primary school? Well, the processes behind some of these questions will be important for us. So we'll take it from a very basic level. I think you already know the answer to these, but let's proceed. So 3 plus box equals 10 is an equation, a bit like a weighing scale. You have 3 plus a box of items and they balance up and they match the 10 items on this side. We'll assume all the items are the same weight. Likewise, we have 8 boxes here, and those 8 boxes contain the same number of items in each box. And the question is, how many are in each box? And again, we have 56 items on this side. So again, the key process here is that we're going to divide 56 by 8. And we'll see that there's 7 items in each box. So again, using the 3 plus box analogy equals 10, you move on to secondary school and suddenly we start to put language on this process. So 3 plus x equals 10, or 3 plus t equals 10. So like the scale, what's the value of x? What's the value of t? So 3 plus box equals 10. Take 3 items away from both sides and we're left with a box of items here and we're left with 7 on this side. Likewise, 3 plus t equals 10, t equals 7. We take away 3 from both sides. Again, the 8 boxes matching 56, 8t equals 56. Now, this is something that we should remind you. When you see 8t, that actually means 8 times some value of t. T stands for a number. It could vary. It's a variable. But in this particular case, we've got an equation. So the value of t is specific. So 8 times something equals 56. The multiplication sign is not written there. It's assumed. When you have 8 times a variable, 8 times a letter, you just write 8t equals 56. So in this case, 8t is 56. T equals 56 divided by 8. T equals 7. So now we will get used to these. 9 times d equals 36. D equals 36 divided by 9. D equals 4. If we take another one. Now that one there was obvious. You knew by looking at it nearly. 9 times 4. But what happens when you have 8.7d equals 70? We can't do this in our head. So you get the calculator out. So d equals, we divide both sides by 8.7. So d equals 70 divided by 8.7 equals 8.046. Another way to write this, and this is the way we'll do it normally, d equals 70 over 8.7. So that's a fraction. So basically 70 divided by 8.7. So that expression there is the same as that expression. So we're dividing across by 8.7, but to write it out, we'll use this method more so as we proceed on the course. So d equals 70 divided by 8.7 equals 8.046. And finally, third one, 0.7p equals 3.1. P equals 3.1 divided by 0.7 equals 4.43. When you divide by a value less than 1, the value of your answer is going to be bigger. So you see 0.7p equals 3.1. Dividing by 0.7 gives a bigger number. 6.23k equals 11.6. K equals 11.6. Divide by 6.23 equals 1.86. 0.7z equals 2.08. Z equals 2.08. Divide by 0.7 equals 2.97. Now we've combined these two processes. 5f plus 6 equals 18. What's the value of f? If we go back to our weighing scale. So here this time we have 5 boxes containing a number of items. That corresponds to 5f. And then we have 6 items. So that's like a blanket over the boxes. Imagine you have 5 boxes, put a blanket on them, and then put the 6 items sitting on top. And we have 18. So how many items in each box? What's the value of f? So obviously we take 6 away from both sides. What happens if we take 6 away from both sides? We're left with the 5 boxes, and we're left with 12 on that side. So 5 boxes correspond to 12 items. And to find out how many is in each box, we divide by 5. So this time it's going to be 12 divided by 5. So 12 divided by 5 is equal to 2.4. So the value of f is 2.4. Now, let's look at it algebraically. 5f plus 6 equals 18. Take 6 away from both sides. 5f equals 12. Now, in school, you would have learned stuff about bringing 6 over the other side and changing the sign. But that's just based on the weighing scale idea that we actually take 6 away from both sides. So that plus 6, take away 6 gives you 0, and you're just left with 5f. And here you go 18 minus 6. So what you learned in school is fine, but maybe this just gives you an alternate understanding as to what you're doing. Divide both sides by 5. 5 boxes contains 12. F equals 12 over 5 equals 2.4. Now, this is another scenario. We have a box, or this back to primary school. Some number goes into that box there. Something over 6 equals 3. So we divide something by 6 to give us 3. And in this example here, you'd probably spot what the answer is. Or algebraically, we could have a variable on it. K over 6 equals 3. What's the value of k? So something divided by 6 gives 3. So basically, you just multiply the 3 by the 6. Multiplying the 3 by the 6 is going to give us 18. So 18 goes into that box. 18 over 6 equals 3. So essentially, k equals 6 times 3. So it's easy to see that when the numbers are nice. So 6 times 3 is the answer. So here's another example. This is a very important idea. So something represented by a box, what number goes in there? Something divided by 5.3 equals 6.4. Now this is not as easy to see as the previous example. Or algebraically we could have p over 5.3 equals 6.4. So p equals 6.4 times 5.3. P equals 33.92. And you can check your answer. If you get the 33.92, fill it into that box and fill the value in for P. 33.92 over 5.3 equals 6.4. And finally, we might come across an example like this. 42 over a box equals 7. So 42 divided by box equals 7. What value goes into the box this time? Okay, so 42 divided by something is equal to 7. What do we divide 42 by to give us 7? Well, obviously, 42 is equal to 7 times something. So this is a slight variation on the one we had a few minutes ago. So you know that the value is going to be 6. You could spot that anyways. 42 divided by 6 is equal to 7. Divide 42 by the same thing, by something, gives 7. Or algebraically, 42 over y equals 7. So what's the value of y? So effectively, you can kind of spot that you're dividing the 42 by the 7. That's going to give us the 6. This will become a little clearer now as we move on. So 42 divided by y is equal to 7. And you remember we had this process a few minutes ago. 42 is the same as 7 times y. So we'll come to the cross multiply bit in a minute. But for now, we can say 42 is the same as 7 times y. 42 equals 7 times y. And we had this before. Y equals 42 divided by 7. So y equals 6. As I say, we'll come back to this. Now, in school, you learn this idea about cross multiply. Cross multiply pertains to when you have a fraction on the left hand side equals another fraction on the right hand side. And basically you can multiply that number there by that number. And that's the same as that number by that number. So if we check out in this fraction here, 3 over 6 is the same as a half. Everybody spots that. 4 over 8 equals a half. But obviously if the left hand side is equal to the right hand side, they have to both be the same as a half. But let's look at the cross multiply bit. 3 times 8. 3 times 8 we're saying is the same as 4 times 6. That's 24 equals 24. So this cross multiply always works for a fraction. Something over something equals something over something. So blue by that green is equal to the purple by the darker blue. Cross multiply. So that's a very important technique. So come back to our example that we had a minute ago. It might be easier now when we introduce this method. 42 over y is equal to 7. But 7 is the same as 7 over 1. 7 divided by 1 is still 7. So we're only putting it in that format so that we can do the cross multiply. So 42 over y is equal to 7 over 1. So using the cross multiply that we're now familiar with, 42 times 1 is equal to 7 times y. 42 equals 7y, and we divide by 7. So y equals 6. 42 over 6. Here's another example. 35 over g equals 5. 35 over g is equal to 5 over 1. So cross multiplying both sides. 35 times 1 is 35. 5g is 5g. Cross multiply. 35 is equal to 5g. Divide by 5. G equals 35 over 5. G equals 7. So the value for g is equal to 7. So fill it in there, just check your answer. 35 over 7 is equal to 5. And that's correct. Now, we'll leave you with some examples to have a go with. You might want to pause the video while you have a go at these and see how you get on. So part A, find the value of t for each of the following. A, 6t equals 42. Part B, 45 over t equals 15. Part C, t over 7 equals 4. Part D, 360 over 3t equals 15. Part E, 5.7t plus 0.8 equals 3.6. And part F, 3.9 over t minus 5.1 equals 11.7. So part A, hopefully nice and easy. 6t equals 42. Divide both sides by 6. T equals 42 over 6 equals 7. So part B, 45 over t, 45 divided by t equals 15. Again, we cross multiply 15 over 1 if you want to view it that way. So 45 times 1 equals 15 times t. Divide both sides by 15. 45 over 15 equals t. T equals 3. Alternatively, using the cross multiply, 45 over t equals 15 over 1, cross multiplying again, and the same technique follows through. T equals 3. Part C, t over 7 equals 4, again, cross multiply, t equals t times 1, 4 over 1, t is equal to 4 times 7, t equals 28. Part D, 360 over 3t equals 15. Cross multiply again. 360 times 1, that's 15 over 1. 360 is equal to 3t times 15. Now this is slightly different. There's another layer of complexity on this. So what happens at this stage? We have 3t times 15. Just to take you back to a thing about numbers. Here we have three things multiplied together. We have 3 times t inside that bracket, but then that's multiplied by 15. So effectively we've got three things multiplied. We have 3 times the value of t times 15. Now if you look at this number example here, this is different from up here, but it's just an example. 2 times 3 times 5. The order in which we write the numbers doesn't matter. 2 times 3 times 5 is the same as 2 times 5 times 3. Just for example, we swap the order of the 3 and the 5. Now you see we've got 2 times 5, that's the same as 10. So we can actually write the expression as it's the same as 10 times 3. So there's all sorts of ways we can write this question here. But the value will always come out to be 30. 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30. Swap the 3 and the 5. For example, you get 2 times 5 times 3 is still 30. 2 times 5 is 10, times 3 is 30. So we're going to apply that here now. What we're going to do is we're going to swap the order of the t and the 15. So we're going to say 3 times 15 times t. So looking at that, 3 times t times 15 is the same as 3 times 15 times t. But what's 3 times 15? It's 45 times t, and we can write it as 45t. So this right hand side can be rewritten as 45t. So now that we've that done, the rest of the question becomes easy. 360 is equal to 45t. Divide both sides by 45. T equals 360. Divide by 45. T equals 8. Part E. 5.7t plus 0.8 equals 3.6. This 8.8 is floating around on its own, independent of the variable, a bit like the weighing scale. Take 0.8 away from both sides. So 0.8 on that side, take away 0.8 gives us 0. We're left with 5.7 on the left equals 3.6, take away 0.8. That gives us 2.8. 5.7t equals 2.8. Divide both sides by 5.7. T equals 2.8 over 5.7 equals 0.49. And finally, F, 3.9 over t minus 5.1 equals 11.7. Now, this is slightly different. It's only a difference on a sign. A bit like the weighing scale, with minus 5.1. We have a minus number this time. But if we add plus 5.1 to minus 5.1, that'll give us 0 for that particular part there. So we add 5.1 to both sides, or technically we're adding plus 5.1 to both sides. So minus 5.1 plus 5.1 gives us 0. And then we have 11.7 and we add 5.1. So now that we've added 5.1 to both sides, we carry on. So 3.9 over t plus 0 is still 3.9 over t equals 11.7 plus 5.1, and that gives us 16.8. So 3.9 divided by t equals 16.8. You're now well used to this type of example. 3.9 equals 16.8 times t. T equals 3.9 over 16.8. T equals 0.23. So in this part here again, 3.9 over t equals 16.8. You're sort of getting used to now that we don't do technically 16.8 over 1, but it is really still the cross multiply. So we hope you've enjoyed the video and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you.